Grain markets closing mixed on Friday. Garrett Troy with Ag Trader Talk is back with us. And Garrett, like I said, mixed on Friday, but we did have lower weekly closes in all the grains. But do you think that the market is getting close to a bottom, because we are kind of stimulating some demand, aren't we?
This is important to note that Friday's trade is a bit unusual because of the internet outage. I think there's a lot of FCMs and trading houses that didn't have access to the markets via their front end. So today I told customers this morning, on our audio that it is a good day to go to the lake or do something else because today's market action probably is not reflective of the true thing. But on the end of the week, D's corn ended up down about a dime. Beans are down about 30 cents. The trend started out lower in the week. I think that there's expectations of the probability of the Republican nominee, President Trump, becoming the president. The market's trading that to some extent as far as its influences on as far as the trade war. Even during the Republican National Committee this week, or convention this week, there was talk of 60 to 100% tariffs on China. I don't believe the 100% tariffs. I think that's just rhetoric. But it seems like the focus on the tariffs versus China this year more on the automotive side, versus the ag side. So it is big of a focus, the ags this year, as it was in 2018, 2019 during the 2020 election when they're trying to influence that. So the other fact of the matter is that entire argument that, well, if President Trump gets elected, we're going to have a trade war with China. Well, we had a massive flash sale this week of 510,000 tons of new crop beans. And you and I both know that the only people that buy beans of that size is China. So that kind of put a hole into that story. And I think that, that shows if that was the driving catalyst that got us to these levels, that maybe, the market needs to reevaluate their positions a little bit. But I don't necessarily know if the money market short in both this corn and soybean market, knowing that China is sitting here underneath the market, really wants to pressure it that much more.
But Garrett, China is a value buyer, and so we must have gotten down to levels they think are value, right?
Absolutely. You kind of could tell that we were going to have a big flash sale because our options guys, that overnight trade, there was a ton of put selling going on. There's a ton of upside call selling going on, and you just kind of thought to yourself, like, well, we're going to see a pretty big flash sale tomorrow when you see that sort of thing, because that's how they hedge those purchases. So, yes, exactly right. U.S. soybeans, Brazil has gotten more expensive than U.S. beans in a week's time. And that also raises some questions about the Brazilian crop size, that, the fact that they're out of beans July 19th, or they're not out of beans, but they're more expensive than our beans than on July 19th. And the fact of the matter is that, if China, there's articles out here talking about Chinese being a soybean glut. I do know that their pork demand is slower, so they may not need as many beans as they typically do. But if they're going to buy soybeans from this point forward through the end of the year, in reality into February, it's going to be U.S. origin, and that definitely helps.
Yeah. So, the pops that we get in this market are just that, looks like one-day pops. And it's really difficult in this environment. Like you mentioned, we're going to have lower weekly closes in all the grains because the funds are short and we don't have a weather threat in corn and soybeans, right?
No, the CPC issued long-term forecasts out here, and even the La Nina watch, transition to El Nino to La Nina. There was thoughts that late this summer that we'd have a transition to La Nina, and that could potentially create a flash drought risk here this year. But they've backed off that La Nina transition, and it looks like El Nino is going to, that transition is going to be a little bit longer. And looks like it's going to be a cool. There's going to be flashes of heat over here or there, but cool and ample chances of moisture, which, at this point, where the temperatures we've seen here locally through pollination, we could use a little bit of heat to help, dry things up and move us forward.
So do you think the market is trading 181 bushel per acre corn yield right now or not? What are we trading?
I think there's a lot of questions. I think that, our job trying to educate our clients, is explaining that a lot of the hail, a lot of the flooding, those things don't necessarily impact yield. They impact harvested acres. I'm a firm believer the harvested acres come down. Perhaps a better question is do you think that there's a better chance of having a 181 corn yield or a 52 bean yield? The fact that we've never really printed either of them, I would say the market's probably a little bit more potentially confident that we could hit a 181 corn yield than they are on beans, hitting that 52.
Okay. We did see wheat up for the day, although it ended off of its highs. So was that just short covering, or is the market following what's going on over in Europe?
Wheat is cheap enough. U.S. wheat is competitive. We had there's multi-factor things. We've got dryness in Western Russia, heat. It's kind of a mixed bag in Russia as far as weather's concerned. The spring wheat looks pretty good. Ukraine is dry. Matif wheat rallied. We had 8-year lows on French wheat crops based off of drought, or French wheat conditions, I should say, off of drought. And wheat is cheap enough. We had, I think the hard red spring market has found a demand level. We had a cargo of hard red spring reported on export sales yesterday to China. And I just think again, kind of like soybeans, we've reached a value level. Now, where did we run the front end to? We ran to 550 and we found selling. I think we're just still close enough to harvest where there's farmer selling around. And the thing about here is I still think there's again, don't mean to speak out my back door, but I think there's risk to quality. The wheat harvest around our neck of the woods has been extremely frustrating given the rains. Either you have wheat, we just had the last week, every other day we've had rains, and it's just been extremely a difficult harvest.
Yeah. It sounds like a lot of the millers are going after the higher quality. So that probably speaks to your point there. Okay, cattle. I know we got cattle on feed report out after we taped this, but we did have a week where cash was steady in the south, maybe just a little weaker in the north. Was the market disappointed with that? And with the futures at a discount to the cash, what happens going forward? Did those two just come together?
It feels like it. I haven't. I was carrying some length on the feeder market. I didn't really like the price action on Thursday. I'm back in my mind is still considering the shorts that are in the grain space. Whether that there's some sort of macro event that's going to happen in the meats. Dressed was $2 lower. Cash is $2 lower essentially on the week. I'm not sure if we're not getting to a point where cash will have to work, and there might be some disconnects as order flow and the market, the board trades something different. It's just kind of a, I don't know, 20 years gut hunch. That and a quarter will get you a cup of coffee sort of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. In the hog market, higher on Friday, it looks like we're going to have a higher weekly close here. So the lows might be in the rear view mirror, but how much recovery can you expect here?
Absolutely. I think, last week's purge might have cleansed the market, essentially getting the last longs out, if you will. Nice recovery here in these hogs back towards, if we get towards that 68 level, we can potentially negate this downtrend that we've been in since, essentially May. Fundamentally though, I'm not sure, anything's really changed other than it's kind of this downtrend may have run its course.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Garrett Troy with Ag Trader Talk. That is Markets Now.